Have you ever achieved a goal you worked toward for months, only to feel an empty void just moments after celebrating? Have you ever traveled to a dream destination, stepped off the plane, and realized that the same subtle background anxiety you were trying to leave behind had traveled right alongside you? You buy a new item, start a new project, or change your routine, hoping that this time it will bring lasting peace. Yet, within days, the quiet voice returns, whispering the same painful lie. Something is still missing. Nothing feels like enough. In our modern culture, this perpetual dissatisfaction is constantly weaponized against us. Advertisements, social media, and hustle culture tell us that the cure for restlessness is simply more achievements, more purchases, more novelty, and more optimization. But if you have ever tried to fill an internal void with external things, you already know the tragic truth. Chasing external fixes for an internal condition is like drinking ocean water to cure your thirst. The more you consume, the more desperate you become. We find ourselves trapped in a vicious cycle. Why can't we just be content with where we are? Why does our mind constantly jump from one desire to the next, never allowing us to rest in the present moment? How do we break free from this chronic mental itch and find genuine, unshakable peace? 2,000 years ago, the great Roman Stoic philosopher Seneca diagnosed this exact human predicament. Seneca lived in the beating heart of the Roman Empire, surrounded by immense wealth, political intrigue, relentless ambition, and endless luxury. He observed the richest citizens of Rome moving frantically from their country villas to their city palaces, buying exotic goods, throwing lavish banquets, and constantly seeking new distractions, only to remain miserable and hollow. In one of his greatest philosophical masterpieces, the Tranquillitate Animi, on the tranquility of mind, written as advice to his troubled friend Serenus, Seneca analyzed this condition with surgical precision. He called it the restlessness of the mind, a state where the soul is perpetually tossed like a ship without an anchor, torn between conflicting desires, bored with what it has, and desperate for what it lacks. Seneca did not offer empty platitudes or preach complete withdrawal from life. Instead, he provided 5 profound, practical prescriptions to heal the restless soul and cultivate tranquility. Joy-filled calm that no external storm can shake. If you feel tired of constantly searching for peace and ready to finally cultivate it, these 5 lessons from Seneca will transform how you live. To heal restlessness, we must first understand its true root cause. Seneca explained that restlessness does not come from your surroundings, your job, your relationship status, or your environment. It comes from a mind that is constantly fleeing from itself. When we feel uncomfortable with our thoughts, our insecurities, or our mortality, our default instinct is to run away, or seek refuge in busy work, social media, entertainment, or constant travel. But changing your location or changing your scenery does nothing to change the person experiencing it. This brings us to Seneca's first prescription for a restless mind. Cure 1. Stop running from yourself. In De Tranquillitate Animi, Seneca wrote a line that strikes at the very core of modern travel and distraction culture. Thus ever from himself doth each man flee. But what does he gain if he does not escape from himself? He follows close upon his own heels and hangs upon his own neck, a most burdensome companion. Seneca tells the story of a man who was constantly traveling from one city to another, complaining that nowhere brought him happiness. The philosopher Socrates famously remarked to him, "Why are you surprised that traveling does you no good when you carry yourself around with you? The cause of your trouble is the same person that follows you wherever you go. If you are restless in your home, you will be restless on a tropical beach. If you are anxious in a quiet room, you will be anxious at a crowded party." The scenery changes, but the companion, your mind, remains identical. The first step toward true tranquility is to stop using travel, novelty, and constant busyness as emotional painkillers. Instead of running from your quiet moments, lean into them. Practice sitting in a room alone without your phone, without music, and without a distraction. Face the thoughts you have been fleeing. When you learn to make peace with your own company, you will no longer need to run across the world to find calm. Cure 2. Depth over breadth. Master a few things. Stop hoarding. We live in an age of infinite consumption. We collect hundreds of unread books on our shelves, save dozens of bookmarked articles, subscribe to multiple streaming services, and skim through endless feeds of information. We believe that by accumulating more options, we are enriching our lives. Seneca warned that this urge to hoard experiences and information is actually a major driver of chronic restlessness. On the Tranquility of Mind, he addressed the Roman obsession with collecting vast libraries for show rather than study. What is the use of having countless books and libraries whose titles their owners can scarcely read through in a whole lifetime? The learner is not instructed, but burdened by the mass of them. It is more respectable to surrender yourself to a few authors than to wander through many. When you spread your attention thinly across 1,000 superficial interests, your mind never settles long enough to experience real mastery or joy. You become a perpetual beginner, tasting everything but nourishing yourself with nothing. Seneca's cure is to replace width with depth. Instead of buying 10 new books, reread the one book that genuinely transformed your worldview. Instead of starting 5 new hobbies this month, double down on the one craft that brings you real fulfillment. Instead of maintaining hundreds of superficial connections, invest deeply in a handful of true friendships. Depth creates grounding. Breadth creates scatter. Cure 3. Align ambition with your true nature. Much of our internal turmoil comes from chasing goals that were never truly ours. We see someone else's success, status, wealth, or lifestyle, and we immediately absorb it as our own desire. We set ambitious targets to impress people we don't even like. And when the process feels exhausting or when we fail, we fall into self-doubt and frustration. Seneca pointed out that nature has given every individual specific talents, temperaments, and capacities. Restlessness rose in the painful gap between who you actually are and who your ego pretends you should be. In the Tranquillitate Animi, Seneca wrote, "We must first examine ourselves, next the business which we undertake, and thirdly, those on whose account or with whom we take it in hand. Above all, it is necessary to estimate oneself truly, because we commonly imagine ourselves to be capable of more than we are. If you are naturally a quiet thinker, forcing yourself into a high-octane public sales role because it pays more will breed perpetual misery. If your soul thrives on creative independence, working inside a rigid corporate hierarchy will make you feel suffocated. Take an honest audit of your life. Ask yourself, which of my current goals are born from my genuine values and which are merely trophies demanded by my vanity or societal pressure. Prune away the artificial ambitions. When your daily actions align with your true nature, work ceases to feel like a struggle against yourself, and restlessness dissolves into natural purpose. Cure 4. Practice mental relaxation and play. In our modern productivity-obsessed culture, rest is often viewed with guilt. We treat free time as wasted time, and even our leisure activities, like tracking workout metrics or building a side hustle, are turned into performance metrics. We keep our minds at maximum tension from the moment we wake up to the moment we fall asleep. Seneca argued that a bow that is kept constantly strung will soon snap. A mind that is never allowed to relax deeply will inevitably become dull, anxious, and irritable. In section 17 of On the Tranquility of Mind, Seneca wrote these vital words: "The mind must not be kept invariably at the same tension, but must be diverted to amusements. Continuous mental toil breeds in the mind a certain dullness and languor. We must be indulgent to the mind, and from time to time grant it the leisure which serves as food and strength." Seneca noted that even the greatest ancient leaders and philosophers, like Socrates playing with children or Cato relaxing with a glass of wine after a long day of public service, understood the necessity of unburdened leisure. Real rest does not mean doom scrolling on social media or consuming hyperstimulating media that leaves your brain more exhausted than before. True Stoic rest means stepping into nature, taking long, aimless walks, sharing lighthearted laughter with friends, or engaging in simple play without any outcome in mind. Give your mind permission to unbend. Cure 5. Cultivate contentment with what you have. The ultimate root of restlessness is the belief that peace is a future reward waiting for you at the end of some achievement. I will be happy when I get that promotion. I will be calm when I pay off my debt. I will be fulfilled when I find the perfect partner. Seneca reminds us that if your happiness depends on future conditions, you will never be happy, because once you reach that milestone, your mind will simply invent a new condition, pushing peace further down the horizon. In the opening section of De Tranquillitate Animi, Seneca defined the ultimate goal of Stoic philosophy. What we are seeking, therefore, is how the mind may always pursue a steady and favorable course, may be well disposed towards itself, and may view its condition with joy and suffer no interruption of this happiness, but remain in a placid state, never being elated nor depressed. Tranquility is not something you acquire. It is a disposition you cultivate toward the present moment. It is the conscious realization that right now, in this exact moment, you have enough. You are enough, and your life contains everything necessary for virtue and peace. Look around you today. The health you take for granted, the roof over your head, the simple meals you eat, and the quiet mornings you experience were once things you desperately wished for. Stop treating the present as a waiting room for a better future. Honor what is here right now. Seneca's message to his friend Serenus, and to all of us living 2 millennia later, is fundamentally hopeful. Restlessness is not an inescapable sentence. It is simply an indicator that your mind has lost its alignment with nature and truth. Whenever you feel the familiar itch of restlessness rising within you, remember Seneca's 5 cure. First, stop running from yourself. Face your quiet moments. Second, choose depth over breadth. Master what you have before seeking more. Third, align your ambition with your true nature. Prune away vanity goals. Fourth, grant your mind real rest and unburden play. And fifth, cultivate deep contentment with the present moment. As Seneca wisely wrote, a man is as wretched as he has convinced himself he is. Peace is not found in the next destination, the next purchase, or the next accomplishment. Peace is found right here, when you decide that this moment is enough. If this video brought clarity and calm to your day, please hit the like button and subscribe to Stoic Mind. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Which of Seneca's 5 cures do you need most right now? Until next time, stay grounded, practice Stoicism, and remember to guard your peace of mind.